Alright guys, welcome back. So we have a project here we have to do. This is a UPA4 Wohlhaupter head that I bought many years ago. One of the companies I went to often was Pratt & Whitney Aircraft, that was basically dismantling their Hartford, Connecticut plant. So I can't remember which company this came from, but I think it was that one. This came with a number 50 taper. I still have it. It's a little different than a lot of the UPA3s where they have like a differential lock pin in here. What I want to do is I want to make a R8 collet holder for it, or shaft. So what I'm planning on doing is taking this, cutting this off, boring it out, threading it, making sure I put this precise locating portion on there. And then it does have a little hole right here where a screw came in, set screw came in from the other side, which I will put in at some point in time, maybe put a new one on this side. And hopefully this is going to work. So machining these can be kind of a pain in the butt, just holding them. So in order to get it as accurate as possible, because I don't want to hold it here because this may not be perfectly accurate to this, and to put this in the chuck you have no way to actually indicate it. I've made a tool here which is nothing more than an R8 collet holder, okay, and this will go in the 4-jaw chuck, and I can zero this in nice. So this is really tight fit, because sometimes what I have to do is hold this in my hand for a minute or two, let it warm up so that that will fit in there. It's really close. So I can put this in the chuck and I can machine this. So what I'm going to do first, and I have a little draw bar that I put on it. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to bore this out. This is 1" 20 thread. I'm going to bore this out in the front, and I'm going to cut a 1" 20 with my threading down the lathe. And everything looks good. I will cut it off, and I will just use this portion. This sticks out about 3/4 of an inch. I need to leave a little room up inside here to terminate the thread. We'll figure that all out as we move along, but I just want to see how well this is going to thread in the machine. And I'm going to thread it from the outside in. I'm not going to go from the inside out, which is a safer way to do it when you're boring into a blind hole. The problem with doing that is that anybody that's ever threaded on a lathe before is, from time to time, when you engage the half nut, you can tell it didn't engage right, and you got to bail out fast. Well, if I'm out here and I engage it and something's wrong, it's not a problem. But if I'm in here and I engage it and there's a problem, by the time I get out of it, I'm going to wipe out part of the thread. So I am going to bore inward. I'll set up a magback indicator, and I will thread slower than I normally would to make sure. I do have a 1" 20 tap. I just don't, I can't count on it to be perfect when it goes in there. It would probably be well enough for a boring bar, but I wanna try it. I want to try and thread it in here and do it this way. So when I bore this initially, the first hole for the thread, I might bore all the way back where I need to, so it's all done and finished. So if everything works out here, I can just cut it off. I'll leave it a little bit longer than it needs to be so that I can get this size perfect. So I can go in there, I can machine it, I can measure it, make sure it's where I want it to be. before I finish cutting it into where I really need it. So I want to make this as perfect as possible. Okay, so that's the task today. We're going to set this up and we're going to do our test thread. I hit this with a file. It's not hot. I got some old ones, Bridgeport ones, and they're not hard either. So this shouldn't be too bad, but who knows? All right. The only thing I did not do is I did not put a keyway in here, but I don't think I'm going to need a keyway because I'm not going to put that much pressure on it. We'll see what happens. I mean, about the worst thing that could put the most pressure on here is if I use a cutoff tool. But I'd go nice and slow, and that would be before I got into threading and everything. Okay. All right, so the next time you see me, I'll be at the lathe and I'll have this all indicated in. See how good this arbor is. Wow. That's pretty good for a Chinese arbor. I'm actually quite surprised. Alright, I'm all set up to cut it off. I'm just going to put a little support in here because I don't want to wiggle that around. I am going to check it once I'm done though. Big fan of that. That's because I'm in the hole. Alright, let me take a look at that. Now we'll get out of that area. All right, let's see if it moved. Check it in a couple of places. Still dead straight. Damn. Maybe a couple of tenths. I'm impressed by that. Not just because I made it. Alright, so now the real thing. I'm going to bore it out to the back. I got to go at least I got to go a little bit better than 3/4 of an inch. Because I got to have a little backspace. If I thread this an inch, where's my Wohlhaupter head? That's 3/4 of an inch. So if I turn that back an inch, and I don't even bother putting the recess in the back, I just stop it more than 3/4 of an inch back. So if I stop it at 7/8, gives me an 1/8 clearance. Then all I have to do is bore this locating feature on the front. I really think that's going to work. I think that's what I'm going to do. Alright, let's get to it. What we want to do is we want to bore, let me see how deep that is. Yeah, might have to zero it. It's about an inch. It's 950 thousandths deep. Alright, so 875 is 7/8. So let's just go to the back. I think we can do it. I'll double check it with the threading tool to see how far it goes in to make sure I got enough clearance ahead of the front of the threading tool. When you look at these threading tools, there's a little more that sticks up, so. And again, I can always go in afterwards and remove that. I just don't want to bump up against it. There will still be plenty of meat in here, so. Alright, let's run a boring bar through. Let's get set up. Alright, we're ready to roll. I got about 33 left to go. I think I'm going to take 20 out of it. About 12 to go. I'm going to let that cool down. And I'll be back in about 10 minutes. So I got about 12.5 thousandths. Like I said, this is this is just a bore for a thread. So basically a tap drill size. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm like 49. I'm gonna let that go. That's at a 70% fit. So I'm gonna let that go. All right, I'm gonna set it up to threading now.